November 29th, 2024, 1:30 a.m. A couple arrived in an apartment in Savannah, Georgia, for what they thought would be a consensual encounter arranged through a swingers website. Within hours, Arthur Gaynor, 48, would be shot in the stomach, bleeding out in his girlfriend's car as she raced toward the hospital. He never made it. The man who pulled the trigger claimed Arthur had disrespected him. But when does a perceived slight justify taking a life? Arthur Gaynor was 48 years old. Beyond that, very little has been shared publicly about who he was. No family interviews, no childhood friends, no co-workers, no obituary painting a picture of his life. What we know, Arthur had a girlfriend. They explored alternative lifestyles together using the website SDC Swingers Lifestyle. Seek, discover, connect, a platform for consensual non-monogamous encounters. On November 29th, Arthur accompanied his girlfriend to meet a man she connected with online, a man named Alfonso. That decision cost Arthur his life. The absence of information is significant. Arthur has been defined by how he died, not how he lived. He was someone's son, possibly a brother, maybe a father. He had a job, interests, fears, hopes. But because of the sexual nature of his death, Arthur Gaynor's humanity has been reduced to a headline. He deserves better. The girlfriend had met Alfonso Warner on SDC Swingers Lifestyle before. This wasn't their first encounter. There was familiarity. Previous meetups that had gone smoothly. She'd been texting Alfonso. When she wanted to meet up again, she asked if she could bring someone, her boyfriend, Arthur. According to court testimony from investigators, Alfonso said yes. They made plans. They drive to Alfonso's apartment at the MAA Benton complex on Benton Blvd in Savannah. The meetup was scheduled for early morning, November 29th, right after Thanksgiving weekend. At 1:30 a.m., the woman and Arthur arrived. An investigator testified in court. She asked if she could bring what you call a playmate. So basically a friend. He said that was okay. And they were basically inside partying, drinking, and having a good time. For a while, everything seemed fine. Consent had been established. Everyone was an adult. Everyone knew why they were there. But something shifted. According to the girlfriend's statement, Arthur began feeling disrespected. She didn't specify what Alfonso said or did. The details remain vague. But Arthur felt it strongly enough that he wanted to leave. The investigator described her account. He's talking stuff. We should just go. Let's end the party. Arthur and his girlfriend decided to leave. They began putting their clothes back on. The encounter was ending, except Alfonso Warner didn't let them leave. According to the girlfriend's account, as they were getting dressed, Alfonso came out of a room. He had a gun, and he shot Arthur Gaynor in the stomach. The investigator testified. They decided to put on their clothes, and as they put on their clothes, she advises that Alfonso comes from out of the room and shoots him. No physical fight. No struggle. No testimony about Arthur threatening Alfonso or becoming violent. They were getting dressed. They were leaving, and Alfonso shot him. Why? Why would a man shoot someone simply trying to leave his apartment? One answer: ego. In masculinity cultures where respect and dominance are tied to identity, any perceived slight can feel like a threat. Shooting Arthur could have been Alfonso reasserting power. Another possibility: Alfonso never truly consented to Arthur being there. Maybe jealousy emerged once they were together. Or maybe Alfonso Warner simply responds to conflict with violence. Arthur collapsed, bleeding. His girlfriend knew she had to get him to a hospital immediately. Abdominal gunshot wounds are catastrophic. The stomach, intestines, liver, major blood vessels, all vulnerable. Without immediate medical intervention, survival drops rapidly. The girlfriend didn't wait for an ambulance. She got Arthur into her car and drove toward the hospital, calling 911 as she went. Imagine that moment. Your boyfriend bleeding in your car. You're trying to drive. Stay calm. Explain to 911 what happened. And you have to explain you were at a stranger's apartment for a sexual encounter. That the man you texted with, the man you'd met before, the man who said it was okay for your boyfriend to come, just shot him. She didn't make it in time. Arthur Gaynor was pronounced dead at the hospital. 48 years old, dead because he wanted to leave. When police spoke with Arthur's girlfriend at the hospital, they had a victim but no suspect in custody. Alfonso had fled, but the girlfriend did something crucial. An investigator testified. She told police what happened and used the swingers site to identify the suspect. She took it a step further and signed an online to the account where she initially met him and showed me pictures of him. She had his profile, their message history, photos, his first name. Police now had a name, physical description, and digital trail. They knew where the shooting happened. They could pull security footage, check apartment registrations. The hunt for Alfonso Warner was on. December 4th, 2024, 5 days after Arthur's death. Savannah police found Alfonso Warner at a red roof in Bryan County, Georgia, just outside the city, hiding. They arrested him without incident and transported him to Chatham County Jail. Alfonso Warner is 40 years old. Like Arthur, very little public information exists about his background. No prior criminal history has been reported. No family statements. He's now charged with murder and aggravated assault. December 18th, 2024. Alfonso Warner appeared in court for a preliminary hearing. Investigators testified about the girlfriend's account. They explained how she identified Warner using the swingers website. They outlined the timeline. The evidence was clear. A man was dead. A witness identified the shooter. The suspect fled. The judge found probable cause to proceed. Alfonso Warner remains in custody without bond, awaiting trial. If convicted of murder, Warner could face life in prison, but no trial outcome will bring Arthur back. This case forces uncomfortable questions about modern intimacy, online connections, and violence. The internet has changed how people connect. Dating apps, hookup sites, lifestyle platforms. They expand possibilities but create risks. When you meet someone online, you're trusting their profile, their messages. You don't know their true character. You don't know how they handle conflict. The girlfriend had met Alfonso before. She thought she knew him. She thought it was safe to bring Arthur. She was wrong. Consent should be clear, enthusiastic, and ongoing. Everyone should be able to leave whenever they want. Arthur and his girlfriend tried to leave. They withdrew consent. They put their clothes on. And Alfonso shot Arthur for it. That's not miscommunication. That's violence. That's a man deciding his feelings justified, ending a life. What did Alfonso mean when he claimed Arthur disrespected him? We don't know. But disrespect as justification for violence is rooted in certain masculinity cultures. The idea that a man's honor is so fragile that a verbal slight requires violent retaliation. Whatever Arthur said or did, it didn't justify being shot. Nothing could justify that. Some will say this is a cautionary tale about swinging or non-traditional relationships. That's the wrong lesson. Millions engage in consensual non-monogamy safely. They communicate. They establish boundaries. They respect limits. They don't shoot people who want to leave. This isn't about alternative lifestyles. It's about meeting strangers without proper vetting. It's about what happens when consent is violated and violence becomes a response. Arthur Gaynor's death exposes truths about safety and trust in the digital age. Background checks, video calls before meeting in public first, telling someone where you're going, basic safety measures that reduce risk. The girlfriend had met Alfonso before, which gave her confidence. But past behavior doesn't always predict future actions. Arthur has been reduced to circumstances. No outlet has explored who he was. The sexual nature makes people uncomfortable. It's easier to sensationalize swingers' playdate gone wrong than humanize a man who died. But Arthur Gaynor lived for 48 years. He made choices, had experiences, loved people, was loved. His death should be mourned as tragedy, not dismissed as consequence. Alfonso Warner didn't have to shoot Arthur. He chose to. Arthur was leaving. The encounter was over. But Warner couldn't tolerate perceived disrespect. He couldn't let them walk out. He went into another room, got a gun, came back out, and shot Arthur while Arthur was getting dressed. That's murder. December 2024. Alfonso Warner remains in custody, charged with murder and aggravated assault, held without bond. The case will go to trial. The girlfriend will testify. Investigators will present findings. Warner's defense will challenge the narrative. But the outcome seems certain. A man is dead. A witness identified the shooter. The suspect fled and was arrested. Alfonso Warner will likely spend life in prison. And Arthur Gaynor will remain dead. 48 years. That's how long Arthur Gaynor lived. All of it ended in a Savannah apartment on November 29th because a man felt disrespected. Arthur's story has been told through how he died, the swingers website, the threesome, the shooting. Those details dominate every article, every post. But Arthur Gaynor was more than that. He was someone's son, possibly a father, maybe a brother. He had friends who miss him, a girlfriend who watched him die and carries that trauma. He had a job, hobbies, favorite foods, songs that made him smile. A life that mattered beyond a headline. Will we remember Arthur as a full human being whose life was stolen, or reduce him to a cautionary tale? That choice is ours. Arthur deserves dignity. His death deserves to be treated as tragedy, not fodder for sensational headlines or moralizing judgments. He was 48. He should still be alive. He should have had decades ahead. He should have been able to leave that apartment. Instead, he's gone. And Alfonso Warner is the reason why. If this story resonates with you, if you believe Arthur's life deserves honor beyond the circumstances, share it. Remember him as a person, not just a headline. And if you meet someone from the internet, remember Arthur's story. Take precautions. Tell someone where you're going. Meet in public first. Trust your instincts. Know you always have the right to leave. Arthur Gaynor didn't get that chance. Let us know your thoughts below. Please subscribe to Black Crime Series to stay updated on our weekly crime reports.